Hey there, my name is ZW Buckley and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Ableton recently released Live 12.3 into beta, and one of the biggest updates is that AutoPan is now AutoPan Tremolo. Essentially, what we have now is two effects baked into one. Now, legacy AutoPan could do tremolo type effects. It even had a preset called Tremolo. However, now that we have two complete sides to the effect, Tremolo adds some unique and interesting features that weren't present in the device before. So in the rest of this video, I'm going to talk about each half of this device and demonstrate some ways in which you can use it in your own music. Let's jump in. So I have here AutoPan Tremolo. It is placed on a super saw pad that has 808s and a drum kit underneath it. I've got the amount set to 0 so we can just hear the pad as is. And note the pad is totally mono. We're going to add stereo widening using AutoPan Tremolo. So let's just bring it up to the default 50% and hear that. So we have by default a nice gentle, auto panning, right? Now there are two halves to this device and we switch between them by just clicking one of the two toggles here at the top. Let's stay on panning for now. Now if I expand a legacy auto pan here and we compare the two devices, we're going to see that there are a number of commonalities. Amount and rate and shape right off the bat, all common, all the same. Where everything else is located is changed a bit to accommodate the new UI of the device. So we now select our waveform from this drop down here in the middle. This is also where we choose what type of rate for the LFO. And all of our stereo controls are located here in this small portion of the middle. And this is also then where we play around with inverting the polarity and the offset of our waveform. Now, directly above this row of controls is a real-time visualization of what's happening with the effect. I'm going to go ahead and hit play, and I'm going to adjust some of the various parameters, and we're going to see this visualization change in real time alongside the waveform itself. And having that visualization is such a useful feature, especially if you're creating a particularly complex modulation. But even if you're just learning this device for the first time, having the ability to see the waveform and the left and right channel relationship, alongside hearing the effect and seeing the placement of the signal in the stereo field in real time, are all the kind of reinforcements of what's happening that really helps you solidify your knowledge. This is just a beautiful, elegant update to this effect, which I find is very helpful because learning and understanding the stereo field is a critical part of music production. Now let's focus on what else is new here aside from just the visualization. A small but exciting detail is the inclusion of spin for all the different types of rates that we can modulate the LFO by. If we look at legacy AutoPan, spin is an option here. However, spin was only available when modulating by a free rate. If you set it to a sync rate, you now just get an offset control. But now, if I go to, say, a synced rate, I still have access to spin. I also have access to offset as well. So let's set it to a rate of 1/8, and let's introduce some spin as it's playing so you can hear what's happening. Spin detunes the left rate from the right And quickly, if you're unfamiliar with spin, when dealing with stereo LFOs, spin essentially detunes the left channel from the right channel, which kind of creates this slight push and pull in the stereo field. It's a really cool and useful feature. The LFOs within Sampler have been able to do this for a very, very long time, for example. So let's go ahead and give this a listen. So as you can hear, it is moving the signal at an eighth note rhythm, but it's just ever so slightly, well, syncopated, really. It's just not perfectly even in the left and right channel. And that's what makes this a very interesting and compelling sound. And the fact that spin is now available across all the different time modes and rates that you can use for the LFO is musically really interesting and really exciting. That alone, it's a small detail, but as far as like sound design possibilities goes, is a massive, massive update to this device. So let's set spin back to our stereo mode and set it to 180. So we've got that nice stereo widening. And let's talk about waveforms. So in addition to the sine wave, the downward saw, the triangle, and the sample and hold that are present on legacy AutoPan, there are a number of new waveforms. I have here the upwards saw, which is a new waveform for AutoPan. We've got shark tooth. And we have 3 new random waveforms. So we do have sample and hold. We have what I would probably consider a glide if I think about the waveforms that are similar to this on other recent Ableton Live devices like Drift. And we have wander. If you're having a hard time understanding the practical difference between the 3 random waveforms, the way that I would think about it is this, and I would think about it based on, frankly, the visualization. So our glide waveform, or you can call it pointy random, as I sometimes do, it moves to a point, and then as soon as it hits that point, it immediately moves on and starts moving to the next point. Now, if we compare that to the wander, which we can call smooth random, it reaches the point slowly, hangs for a moment, and then curves to its next value. Its movement is very imprecise. It wanders. Versus sample and hold or, square random, it just instantly goes to whatever value it's going to move to when it moves to. All of those are going to have different musical outcomes. This is really our broad overview here of the panning side of AutoPan Tremolo. Now, if we switch over to the tremolo side of the device, we can see that visually some things have changed. The stereo controls are completely grayed out, and we can see that the left-right bar is no longer that. It's just simply a bar that pulsates with the tremolo effect. If I hit play, we will hear that. Now, it's also worth noting that the signal is now mono again. We can only use one side of the effect at a time. There is no panning going on. Let's talk about some other differences. Instead of individual waveforms, there's now a more robust shape control, which we can then also invert the waveform to have even more flexibility. Let me demonstrate. So again, even though we are at an eighth note rhythm, the feel of that rhythm dramatically changes depending on the shape of our tremolo waveform. Now there are two toggles that are unique to tremolo. The first one here is our vintage tremolo mode, which simply adds some subtle warmth and grit to the signal. It's easy to see what's happening here on the EQ readout. Notice how when I do turn it on, we get some additional low end. The noise floor is raised, but there are additional harmonics that are adding up between the peaks. So again, it just adds some character to the sound. The other one here is maybe a more profound impact on the sound, which is the harmonic tremolo mode. And it's really cool. What ends up happening is instead of the whole signal just being tremolated, I don't know what the word is for it. There is a crossover that is established at 600 hertz, and the signal alternates in amplitude on either side of that crossover. So you can hear it goes from a more unified sound to this like kind of back and forth, which is really neat. And let's turn that on and play a bit with the shape. When we kind of have it at this square wave, we can really hear that difference between the high end and the low end. Yeah, you can hear, again, when I uninvert the waveform, the low end is what we're getting at the front. It's that 291-ish hertz area that I'm really hearing there. This is pretty much just like a synthwave wet dream. So for both panning and tremolo, there is a small mod matrix here in the bottom right-hand corner of the device. The first one here just simply adds an attack to the effect, and we can see this very effectively visualized. So we can create really cool ramps. So let's do that with the panning. Now, in addition to the ramping here, I have set up a rack here that looks more complicated than it is because I want to demonstrate this modulation control without blowing out your ears. So what this will do is it will modulate the rate of your panning or tremolo effect based on the incoming amplitude of the signal. So I've just got it set up here with a macro that is controlling a utility on either side. So I can keep the gain consistent. So I can bring a very quiet signal into the auto pan and then really crank it up. Or I can really crank the signal coming into auto pan, but then really turn it down on the way out. So that way I'm, again, not blowing out anybody's ears. And let's toggle off all the effects. Let's just kind of go straightforward tremolo here so we can hear this. I'm going to crank it all the way up to 100%. It's funny, I'm pretty sure we're getting so fast that we're kind of reaching FM rates here, sometime past 0. And we can invert that relationship as well. So really quiet, we pretty much just get the quarter note. Let's set it to something like time. Let's just leave the default to 1 second, and let's set the mod to 50. Let's play a little bit with panning before we wrap up. Let's go to our shark tooth here. And again, play around with, let's leave it on stereo here. And leave the shape as is. And let's explore another one. Let's do triplets. I haven't played with that. And we'll go a 3/8 triplet. Why not? And let's see how this plays out then with, let's go -50 this time. Oh, it's really cool. Heavy syncopation. There's so much to do with this effect, as you can see. This is an excellent expansion of this device and an update to this device that is really in line with Live's current habit of updating legacy devices like it did with the auto filter for 12.2. But this is your overview of AutoPan Tremolo and our deep dive into the effect, and I'm sure you're going to make some really cool things with it. AutoPan Tremolo is a really exciting addition to Live's collection of devices. I'm looking forward to continue to exploring it while in beta, and I'm excited for its eventual release into stable Live. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment. At the time of recording this, I am this close to cresting 10,000 subscribers, which was my goal at the start of the year. So if you've made it this far in the video, consider hitting that subscribe button. And while you're right there, maybe the little bell too, so you know when the next video comes out. Till next time.